welcome to the Crafty Boys, the coolest podcast ever created, of course supported and sponsored by Crafty Land, approved by Greta.
Yay! Thank you, Greta.
How's it going, boys? Get out of here, Putin! That asshole. All right, so how's it going, boys? It's a Friday night. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm wearing pants.
I'm kind of bummed out. I've been on vacation for the last 2 weeks, and today was like basically the end of my vacation. I go back to work on Monday. So, I mean, I wouldn't work on the weekend anyway. So this is the last day of my vacation. Kind of bummed about it. I know. It sucks.
Well, oh, hey, here we go. Hang on. I just before you speak further, I just got this message here. Mm-hmm. This is from our man in Amsterdam. Sorry, sorry. Here we go.
We're waiting.
All right, there we are, boys. He got the link to the show tonight, but he can't. He's at his parents in up island. So okay. Dave says hi, everybody.
Last week or the week before or the week before that?
I don't know. He was not getting my links apparently.
No, okay.
But anyway, yes, we are here to drink beer, talk about crap, and do stuff. And I think that Locke should start because, you know, he is the furthest east.
He's in the Eastern time zone. We should go east to west.
Sure. Okay. So, as you may or may not know, as you may or may not be aware, I am doing a dry July.
He is.
Time. You know, the privilege of drinking means that you can walk away with it and be fine. And we're a little over a week and a half into July. I feel great. Not better than usual, certainly not worse. But the question comes up, and especially with my lifestyle, which is I like brew pubs, that's where I hang out. What do I drink? What do I do? Right? And so let's address, first of all, what am I drinking? What I'm drinking is mineral water. And let me show you which one and what's interesting about that.
Okay.
It's going to show us.
When you drink mineral water, you have to go to your local bathroom to open it. You can't do this in front of the camera.
All right, he's going to show us.
So these have been going missing off of store shelves all over Ontario.
What?
Perrier in this size bottle virtually no longer exists. You used to be able to get it in 5 flavors. And it was fascinating watching the flavors slowly die off of the shelves. And so for me, I kind of got into it. It was sort of like a game, like, okay, let's see which are the least loved flavors of Perrier. Now, I think the plain is still around only because there are more of them than there were of other things. But in terms of the first one to go was the grapefruit. The grapefruit gone straight out of the gate. Everybody's just basically bought that one out. That was gone. Then peach went. I think one of the last to go was strawberry. I think lime went before strawberry.
Okay.
And then oddly enough, lemon hung around, but I think that might again have been there just more of them. So anyway, it's been interesting watching this. Now, what has it been replaced with, if anything? Well, they've got tiny tins, which I don't understand, because if you were doing mixed drinks, that would be maybe the right amount. And because you don't want to lose the bubbles, that's, you know, that's not a bad way to go if what you're making is cocktails, like a highball or something, right?
Right.
But if you wanted to do what I'm about to do right now, crack this bitch and just knock it straight back. The bubbles really hit you, and if you need to wake up fast in the morning, forget coffee. Just do that, and you're all the way there, right?
I believe it.
Anyway,
does it come shooting out your nose sometimes?
Well, occasionally, and that also helps wake you up.
Clears your sinuses too.
I just had to show this to you boys. Tonight's first beer.
It's
mineral water.
Dave would be proud.
Dave would be proud. Dave would be over the moon right now. So,
yeah, I promise
Locke,
next week I
to
will
clarify,
try to get a proper non-alcoholic beer or something.
That bottle, is it just that size? Like Perrier's just not making that, or
yeah, no. For some reason, they're still cranking out plastic ones, but now it's just the smaller size.
Oh,
so if they were trying to preserve the world from plastic, that's not doing it.
No, I would
myself.
agree.
I'd be all for them going aluminum, but if they're going to go aluminum, make them the tall boys. You know.
Agreed. Alan, what is your beer?
Okay, I'm not doing dry July, but we have discussed recently about the possibility of minimizing or cutting back on alcohol consumption. I mean, we're not spring chickens anymore. I still feel like a spring chicken sometimes, but after I've had a couple, I certainly don't. I feel like an 85-year-old geezer. So I'm interested in looking for ways that I can consume beer, which is one of my favorite beverages, without feeling like an absolute idiot the next day. So I've come across this. This is from Driftwood. This is not a non-alcoholic beer, but it is part of their regular run, and I've never tried it before. It is called Golden Well, and it is their West Coast table beer. That's the label there. Comes in tall cans, and interestingly, it only comes in at 3%. Which is fairly low as far as beer goes. Now, as I said, I've never tried it before. This is my pour into the glass here. It just looks like a regular beer. It's a little bit lighter. The camera makes it look a little bit darker than it actually is. It's actually fairly light. It's got a fairly decent head with nice lacing on the sides of the glass. When I smell it, it doesn't really smell like much of anything. It tastes like very effervescent, watered down beer. But
it's bubbly and it tastes like nothing.
But if you're going for something that's low alcohol, if you're looking for ways to cut back, this is better than any non-alcoholic beer I've ever had. It doesn't have the bite as, say, like you're going to get from a Blue Buck or obviously a Fat Tug or anything like that. But if you're looking to cut back and you want something that's sessionable, if you're going to a party somewhere and you want to knock back a couple, you can have some of these. You're not going to get gooned. And it has enough of a beer flavor that you'll enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah. Just without the after effects. So it's almost like, no, I don't want to nerd it up. I was going to say it's almost like Synthahol Light, but unless you're a Star Trek fan, you're not going to get that. So never mind.
Right.
I mean, I would have this again if I was going to a party and I knew I was going to be there for a long time and I was probably going to have a few beers. I'd probably take 2 or 3 of these tall boys and just have those instead.
Okay. Well, speaking of tall boys, the beer I have tonight, through no fault of my own, I'm drinking Sober Carpenter, an IPA, which is a non-alcoholic craft beer. I don't know very much about this brewery because I've only just we've only just picked this up in the last 2 days. This is from a brewery, the Sober Carpenter Brewery in Montreal, Quebec, and I'm hoping for hoppy goodness because
I'm interested to hear
promising,
what you think
promising. Okay, here we go.
Now, where did you find this?
This Peanut Gallery. Where did you find this beer? This was at London Drugs? Apparently it's at London Drugs. Sorry, Locke, you can't get it there. Although you're near Quebec, so you could probably find it somewhere else. But there you go. So this beer... See, here's the thing. In the last couple of weeks, all the beer I've been getting is from either London Drugs or... actually, that's pretty much it. Wow, it has a really strong hop profile here. Holy hell. That's like smelling smells like wet towels in a forest. Like pretend you've gone camping and you dove into a lake and you then toweled yourself off and hung them on a line between 2 pine trees. That's kind of what this smells like.
Okay. So kind of musty?
I'd like to know. Musty would be a good way to put it.
Okay.
There is no. Here we go. Loaded with hops, this floral West Coast style offers notes of tropical fruit and citrus. Okay, all right. It's sustained and balanced. Green on white text is not great. And balanced bitterness allows for a crisp, fresh. That what the hell? That's not English. We'll have you coming back for more. Cheers. Okay.
Drink it.
I was kind of hoping what the hop was, but here we go. It does have an international beer unit rating of 42 because it's written on the back of the can.
Mm.
That is tart and sour. I would love to know what hops they're using in this because I'm not familiar with that taste at all. I mean, here's what it looks like. It's kind of a stop beaming out. Stop beaming out. Who cares? Anyway, it tastes it. I mean, it's different. Like this is in the realm of like Mr. Needles, but not quite as offensive as Mr. Needles.
So my guess is they've upped the hop flavor profile to mask the fact that it's an beer.
You're probably not wrong because I know that I have looked up how to make non-alcoholic beer in recent weeks, and that is pretty much what they do. Is they cover up the lack of booze with a overabundance of hop, which is fine. I have no problem with that at all. But
if you enjoy it,
yeah, I'm just trying. I'm going to their website because I want to know where. Apparently, if you run an antivirus scam prevention software on their website, you can't click on anything. That's not good. So they've won a ton of awards. Holy USA Beer Gold Medal, Silver Medal, Alberta Beverage Awards, Silver in the World Beer Awards. Wow, that's kind of cool. But here we go. So I found the sober. I need to learn more. Sorry, boys. I will share this adventure. This one here. All right, so contains gluten. No. Yeah, here we go. Little hops.
It's kind of surprising.
Loaded wit hops. That's it. There's no other information as to. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go.
Oh, it's got malted barley.
Oh yeah, well that's actually a thing, by the way, for non-alcoholic beers. They primarily use barley. They don't actually use any other grain, really.
Yeah.
So, although the recipes that I have looked up, they do actually have barley is the main one, but there's a ton of other ones that they've added too. So yeah, I mean I don't mind this at all. It's just.
It's probably a bit different, but not in a bad way, right?
Yeah. I don't have any complaints about this one at all. I was just surprised. I'm more surprised. I'm getting used to it. But wow, I stand by that smell description. Wet towels in a forest, because it's kind of got that really sort of musty water kind of smell, but then it has the hops coming in on top. So
that's kind of
I have no
my description. I tried an IPA, a non-alcoholic IPA called Partake, which I got at Walmart.
Right.
And that one was, I would say the same thing. It was an IPA and same kind of thing. Musty towels in the forest with like pine needle flavorings. And it was a similar kind of thing. But there's lots of people who are trying for non-alcoholic beers these days. I've run into some friends of mine who are now my age or older than me, and they've been trying non-alcoholic beers more. And you can actually get them, at least here, you can get them at grocery stores and at London Drugs and stuff like that. Save On Foods sells a non-alcoholic beer brewed by Central City.
Yeah, I've also tried the non-alcoholic line of beer from Phillips as well, just recently.
Does Phillips have non-alcoholic beers?
They do. They have they have a pale, they have an IPA, they have a Pilsner, they have the pale is the best. Yeah, that's actually
that's not the Little Wonder, is it?
Do you actually? I have some in the fridge. Let me do that.
Okay, Shane's gonna go get that. Locke, what are your thoughts on non-alcoholic beers at this?
Well, all right. Here's just an observation before I get in any thoughts. Sawdust City, where I've been camped out very much this last while, they have a concoction which they don't have it on their taps right now because they have a whole suite of 3.5% sours, all great and sort of low alcohol options. But what they had for a while was ginger hop water, which I thought was an interesting sort of answer to, well, okay, so if you're going to do it non-alcoholic, do non-alcoholic beer, or you could do some other kind of hopped beverage. And they went with ginger as their base. And sounds like well, it doesn't just sound like it. I tried it. It was great. And with the hops, it sort of, it comes across as a sort of a complex, tasty drink. It's got a little bit of body because of the ginger. And it was good.
Excellent.
So here they are. This is their, all of them are called Iota. So Phillips Brews, this is their pale ale. They are not, there's nothing fancy name wise. They're just very basic Pilsner.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the IPA. I drank the IPA, sorry, but there's also an IPA. And there's another one. It is not a lager. I've forgotten the other. I think it's a dark ale or something. I forgot exactly what it is. Basically, yeah, they all look like this. They're just all different colors, and that's about it. Nothing terribly exciting. The other one that I really like is also in the fridge. Called. Hang on.
We're hanging on. Bated breath. Going to the fridge. The fridge isn't that far away from where Shane sits and broadcasts, so
Street Legal, it is called. They all come. They come in tall boys, and that's the first one that we actually got at London Drugs. But yeah, that is probably the best of the bunch. The IPA
named
is
obviously
best.
after William Deverell's television series.
Exactly. I'm probably sure that's what it was. But overall, yeah, I mean, it's. I haven't seen that show in so long, but I still remember it though. But yeah, I mean, it seems to be the beer of my future for the next while. Is a non-alcoholic beer. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely. It's been an education. I mean, overall, I'm not unhappy, but I miss beer right now.
So that's so what you've learned is that you miss beer.
Yeah,
and that the non-alcoholic stuff doesn't necessarily.
Well, because of the way it's made, the flavor profiles are very different.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty much why. But I don't know. I've been, as you can probably tell, I've tried a whole bunch to try and find one that I'm really enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, overall, unhappy. I mean, overall, I think there, according to the news over the last 2 or 3 weeks, actually, there have been a few stories about the rise of non-alcoholic beer because younger people like beer, but they don't like getting loaded. So they're trying to find different things to drink. Kombucha apparently is not cutting it. So there you go. I mean, I don't think it ever would, but there you go. I mean, there's 2 things. Actually, it's funny. After I saw the news talking about non-alcoholic beer sometime last week, I actually remembered making years ago ginger beer, and I thought, I could actually do that as well because that's a brewing thing. And it doesn't really have any alcohol in it.
It's actually pretty easy.
Yeah,
I was looking into doing it last summer. I bought all the stuff and said I'm going to do this one day, and I didn't do it. But I bought
have a bag
stuff.
of like rotting ginger.
I put it all in the freezer, so if I decide.
But yeah, I mean that's it because I like brewing stuff, and I'm a little sad that getting older has reared its head and has forced me to do this. But as I mentioned it earlier about how I've actually found that you can actually brew the beer you normally would make, and then you
off
camera. But yeah, basically you could take beer that you've made, and then once it's fermented, then you reboil it to evaporate the alcohol. I mean, that's the basic way of doing it. But
so how do you know? I mean, you may not know this because you haven't done it yet. But how do you know in that process once all the alcohol has been boiled off? Do you just do another?
I imagine you have to do a gravity, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe there's some other magic. But again, I'm still in the learning phase of before I actually try it.
Because I can imagine. I imagine when you're boiling it and all the alcohol is burning off. It's probably like when they opened up the Ark of the Covenant And it's like all the souls are like coming out and everything. And they're like whispering around everybody. It's like, don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Keep your eyes shut. Oh my god, that's awesome.
It's beautiful. Your face starts to melt.
So your head explodes. That's what happens when you like start evaporating alcohol and you hold your head over the kettle while it's doing its magic. Oh my god, that would be the best thing ever. Although, actually, something I did actually read, not in a whole lot of detail, but you can actually distill the beer to pull the alcohol out because you're boiling it and pulling the alcohol out. What's left over, normally you dump, apparently. But apparently you can keep that. It's still beer. It just doesn't have as much alcohol in it. So I thought maybe, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and distill all the beer I make. So, it's a possibility.
Right. Isn't that kind of what they did with like the first stuff like O'Doul's and stuff when it came out in the 80s or whatever? It was like O'Doul's was considered to be non-alcoholic beer, but it still had a little bit of alcohol in it. It wasn't like completely 0.0. It was like 0.5 or something like that. I think that's what they did. They distilled it.
Normally, de-alcoholized beer, from what I understand, is 0.5 or less. So, I had I've delved into this greatly in the past few weeks. But there is the first one that I had was Heineken Zero. Which I don't know if does that mean it actually is completely zero alcohol? I don't know how that is.
I kind of doubt it. The only way that Heineken Zero could be actually zero is if what they're doing is creating a wort and just not going through the fermentation process.
Heineken Zero, brewing a great tasting 0% alcohol malt beverage.
Or is it rounded down to 0? It's probably like 0.3 or 0.4.
They're calling it 0.0. Our master brewers started from 0 and spent years exploring and brewing and finally creating a recipe that is perfectly balanced, one that deserves the Heineken mark, of course, with the uncompromising blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It says that its alcohol content is 0%.
I'm assuming, like, this will be something that they'll have, like, 2 or maybe 3 different sort of elements that they're then combining, right? Like they do this with sort of some sort of more sort of niche craft beers in Europe. That what they'll do is they'll take a number of different sort of stages of fermentation and recombine them to create a beverage that's not just one stage. It's like elements of a couple of different ones. So if you took a similar approach with the way you did that and then boiled off the alcohol, you could probably get it to 0.
This is for you, Locke. This is from December 2021. Lawsuit takes issue with Heineken's Zero beer for containing as much as 0.03.
So I think that probably falls under mere puff. Like advertising is advertising. You're expected to know what advertising is unless you're a child, and if you're a child, you shouldn't be buying beer. So. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And I mean, it doesn't surprise me because, again, it seems to be people who want beer that has no alcohol in it shouldn't drink any beer because
they should probably get iced tea.
was gonna drink a water. Drink a grapefruit flavored, a Perrier from. And
the grapefruit flavored ones, to be fair, are the best flavored ones. That's not just the market speaking. It is true. They actually taste that good, and I know because I subjectively know, and so that's why it would be like that for everybody else.
So, sorry, this topic is making me think of something that a teacher told me in high school. So I was taking a marketing class, and my marketing teacher on the first day said, if you want to make it rich, you want to be the richest person in the entire world, come up with something that nobody else has ever thought of. And the idea, he said, is if you come up with the idea of instant beer, sort of like a powder, the Lipton's iced tea thing where you take the crystals out of a thing, put in a glass, and then add water, you would be the richest person in the history of the world, which I don't think is actually true. But we were thinking about it at the time in talking about it. It wouldn't be possible because the alcohol, you can't crystallize alcohol. But if you're making a non-alcoholic beer, would it be possible? Could you make a crystallized instant beer product that's non-alcoholic?
That's a very good question. I would think, but the problem is, I think the process of powdering the beer,
even if you made like a liquid
alcohol
concentrate.
Anyway. Okay. So what we're talking about is something like one of those fruit juice flavored bloody, Northeast IPAs.
We're talking like
distilled down to a powder that you could then put in a packet, rip it, and pour it into a thing and mix it up like Tang.
Yeah.
You could do that. I bet that you could.
It would not surprise me at all, because that to me.
And would it sell? I bet it would, because the novelty of it. Yeah.
Well, it'd be great for camping.
To sell, but you could. Can
you imagine you're on a backpacking trip somewhere and you have to pack as light as possible? You could just take some of this stuff here, go to your stream, grab your little glass or cup or whatever, fill it up with water, put in your little satchel of crystals into it. Boom.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't have said this live on the air. It's a good thing nobody watches.
Hang on. We have a solution for that. Crafty Land. You need to go there. Quick, Alan. Strike everything from the internet that says anything about your plan. Because, we don't ever want anything. Get out of here, Bud Light! Jeez, Willikers. I gotta say, Bud Light's just not cool. I still have a Bud Light in my fridge because I refuse to drink it.
You should refuse to drink it because of the flavor and the fact that it's a Bud Light, and not because of the politicization of it.
No, it's just disgusting. I've had them before and I hated it. Yeah. But anyway, I had a thought earlier. I just can't remember where the hell it was now.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Yep, it's gone. So it doesn't matter. So what else is happening in the world, boys? Is there anything happening?
You guys mentioned last week. You guys started talking about Dial of Destiny, and I said I hadn't seen it yet. Okay, I've seen it now. I've seen it now. Okay. I'm on the same page as you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I really liked it. Like I thought it was great. I'd actually put it above Temple of Doom.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Accepting the fact that I think most people think that Temple of Doom is the worst of the three original films. Not bad movie, but just if you're going to rank the three original films.
I've heard people make remarks along those lines. That was never my view. I always sort of liked it. I think, it sits the most incongruously with the Crystal Skull one.
Yeah,
because it's actually got 80s horror elements in it, like ripping the heart out of somebody's chest, right? Like that's like the world that was normal for kids was the world where everybody was into, like Wes Craven and John Carpenter movies, right? That was sort of what the 80s was sort of like vibing on then. And so it's interesting that I think what made the Crystal Skull one so unwatchable is it had been Disneyfied. You know what I mean? There was nothing dangerous about it anymore.
Interestingly, which is interesting to say because I don't think Disney had anything to do with it. But yes,
but you know what I mean.
What you're saying.
I don't mean that, and I'm using it in the generic of to fuck up somebody's Times Square.
It was almost like there was too many suits involved in the decision making and not enough art in it. You could tell like Raiders was a passion project.
Sure, yeah, no, exactly. Raiders was yeah, but that that I mean the stories going on, behind the scenes in Temple of Doom, it sort of reminds me of the era of Black Sabbath, my favorite era, incidentally, where Ian Gillan joined the band.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of the stories start to sound almost indistinguishable from the script of Spinal Tap. It's sort of, but that's sort of what was great about it too, right?
Right. Well,
you wouldn't want Indiana Jones, never to have had a seedy side, because then it makes the whole adventure element feel forced.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the fact that Harrison Ford was sleeping with what's her face, and I had as Harrison Ford seems to have done a lot back then.
Yeah.
Right? Like that all of that's great.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. There was like a couple of things about it that I didn't really like, only because these were mainstays of the Indiana Jones films that either weren't present in this film or were minimized in this film. And these could be seen as small things, but every single Indiana Jones movie, they tell you the year in which it is occurring. Just a little title down at the bottom says 1936 or 1934 or whatever. Now, in this movie, it was obvious what year that it was if you knew anything about history. But I still would have liked to have seen that year down at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
The other thing was, and this is a staple in Indiana Jones movies, every time they travel from one place to another, you see the map with like the line going along the map. They did this once or twice in this movie, but that's it. And it was really downplayed. And I would have liked to have seen that a little bit more. It's a staple of the Indiana Jones film. And it was kind of a little bit off-putting that was minimized.
Exactly, because the whole train thing, you don't know where you are. They don't really, at least I'd probably have to watch it again to see if they had actually done it and mentioned it somewhere. And you don't actually know what's going on, except for there are Nazis and Jones is trying to find something.
Well, they didn't.
It wasn't until they jumped ahead in time to when they introduced the goddaughter character.
Yeah,
and she starts saying, and she actually says, "Yeah, when you were on that train, one of the Nazi plunder trains that was leaving in 1944 or whatever it was." That information was not Apparently,
Well,
like that.
No, there was on that train scene when they first captured Indy. Indy did say, I can't remember the exact wording, but he did say to them, "It's like you guys have lost war. Hitler's in hiding." So it was right in the final days of the war.
Mm.
Well, yeah, but really, the big thing I'm trying to sort of equate it to is that because of that lack of Nazi Germany or Austria or wherever the hell they were, 19 whatever.
Yeah,
didn't have to give us the entire date. We just wanted to know what year.
Oh, just the year.
Because did they do that in that other film? What was the previous one? I can't remember the name to. I
Crystal
think
Skull?
It was that one. Yeah. What?
Yes, they did.
They actually. They
1957.
Okay. So, and this one takes place in August of 69.
Yes.
At least that main.
It takes place right like the moon landing.
It takes place for that. Actually, this film covers 3 times periods. Am I right in that? The Nazi train, like the Nazi chase, primarily 1969, but then they go back to.
Well,
let's not give spoilers.
Yeah,
they go back to a different time.
3 time periods. Yeah.
And the way they did it, I thought was really interesting.
Oh yeah, I it fits with the Indiana Jones mythos.
Totally.
We've seen magical stuff before. It's not unusual. The thing that I actually was curious about, which now I'm gonna have to look this up, but the character that Antonio Banderas played, I can't remember if that character was in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Oh.
I don't think it was, but for some reason it felt familiar. But again,
I kind of got the feeling like from the way that they were presenting him that he should have been familiar to the audience, but is not. I was kind of hoping it was Captain Katanga.
I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, I mean, there were some elements of that film that were great. I actually thought the most interesting comment that Indiana Jones made to me in that entire film was when the goddaughter character, right after they left that boat in the water, she got excited that we've got the thing and we're gonna go, and he just says, "My friend was just murdered," and my instant reaction was, well, that's kind of woke of this film because we've seen all kinds of people getting murdered. But then I thought, wait a minute, no, hang on, this is that whole passing of the torch thing, because Indiana Jones in previous films did have moments where he's like, yeah, and 75 people have been mowed down by a machine gun,
But those
not
weren't
that they were
his friends necessarily.
Well, I know, but still, it was a nice moment of my friend was just murdered, but it had really cool stuff like that going on. I thought it was interesting.
But then, if you think about it, in Last Crusade, when Indy would mow down a bunch of Nazis, his father would look at him disapprovingly.
True.
It's kind of the same thing,
And then eventually his dad's like, "It's war." Yeah, well, it was. You were in the middle of a Nazi, invasion party or whatever. But overall, I gotta say, I give the movie thumbs up. It was definitely better than that previous outing.
Yeah. And anybody who's saying that this movie is somehow woke needs to have their head examined. I don't see it.
I don't think
the character isn't really any different from, say, Dr. Schneider in Last Crusade. Different. She's her own character. but can be a little bit insufferable, just like Elsa Snyder was.
Well, exactly.
And Willie Scott.
Oh God. I still never get over that whole cameo of Dan Aykroyd in Temple of Doom. Where he's like, "Are you Willie Scott, the famous lounge singer?" With an a very
live poetry.
Yeah, that's right. But overall, thumbs up. I'm glad they did this film. It definitely makes up for a lot of the failings of the previous one. The previous one was okay. It just went a little bit too far, and it was over.
A disappointment given how good the other ones were.
Exactly,
and the thing is, now that this one has been made, and this is something for people to note out there if they're ever in this position. It didn't have to be awesome. All it had to do was be competent in order to at least somewhat redeem the last one. So now I can watch it without having to hang my head and go, and this is how it died. Right?
Well, exactly. I mean, the previous one, they had a problem with overproduction. Like, if you watch that film from a production perspective,
too much CG,
too much CG, too much lighting,
misused CG. Let me clarify.
Okay, yeah.
Because the point of CG, as with any effect, is to help the audience suspend their disbelief, not to add extra stuff.
I agree.
Too much
and the ant scene, the fucking swinging through the monkey thing, but I do the other criticism I have of that film is everything is lit too well. Like if you watch that film just paying attention to the lighting, the entire sequence where they're in those they're running through and bouncing around the hangar bays, just watch the lighting. The lighting is too good. Like there's not every single shot, but I would say 80% of the shots they just decided they would need to light this really well. Let's light it good. Not thinking that you're supposed to be in a dingy fucking warehouse.
Hold on, wait a minute. Who directed that one anyway?
Spielberg.
That
was Spielberg?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in his younger career, he never would have done that.
Yeah, Spielberg. But hang on. Spielberg admitted in an interview about 2010 or so. He was at a one of those Comic-Cons, and he did interviews backstage on front or on stage. But the thing he said backstage was he was going through sort of a midlife crises as a filmmaker, and was revisiting all of his old films and wanting to fix them to the early aughts. Like when they did that re-release of the 25th anniversary of E.T., all the guns were taken out. They removed some scenes because they felt they were not good enough. So, backstage, he did say, and this is probably 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there, somewhere around Crystal Skull, where he said that he was going through this sort of crises. He was trying to, as an artist, he was trying to, because he made these films at a certain time in his life, but then he had kids, and then he decided, looking at these films again through the eyes of somebody as a parent, well, maybe I should tone them down. So they took all the guns out of E.T. Anyway, and then after those interviews were done, he was on stage an hour or two later, and he actually said to the audience, okay, we're doing the Blu-ray release of E.T. in 2000 and whatever. And which version of the film should I do? Should I do the original, or should I do the one that we released a few years ago? And the audience just said, no, the original, the gun removal, what the hell is wrong with you, kind of thing. And he said on stage, okay, I'll go back to the original. We'll forget about me having done that one without the guns and with all the other scene changes and stuff, because but I mean, as an artist, I mean, balls to him, because hey, it's your thing, And if you want to re-release it with 1,700 new shots of Jabba the Hutt's dick, then, do it. But, exactly. But don't forget that you have this huge audience you've built up over you didn't just release the film 3 years ago. You released it 30. Stop messing with it. I know films are not done. They're abandoned, whatever. But you know what? At least have that version out there for your audience to still choose to enjoy the most. And, Lucas is very bad at doing that. And then actually an interview later on with Spielberg, it's on YouTube. Spielberg throws George Lucas hard under the bus because they were talking about whatever film he was talking about at that point. And they brought up Crystal Skull, and he said, well, that was George's film. So all of that was him. I just was there to direct it. It was not, I had no input on that at all. So, he was like, George made a bad script. So sorry.
At the risk of sounding like a bit of a dullard, I found the story for Crystal Skull to be a little bit too complex. Like, it's not even really clear to me what even happened.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Because I had the same. It took me, I think, 3 viewings to figure out. Because I left the theater going, well, that film was not great. It had some major problems I didn't like, but it was Indiana Jones. I didn't want to shit on it too hard. And then a few hours later, you're like, I have no idea what happened at the end. Suddenly there was an alien like giving them the stink eye, and then a spacecraft flew off and shit on everything and left. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Well, somebody asked me what Crystal Skull was about, and I was like, oh, well, it's
there's crystal skulls in it.
Skull, and it's made out of crystal.
And there were a bunch of
sort of Russians
Aboriginal characters that apparently were sitting around in a temple underground for hundreds of years, just waiting to jump out and go booga booga to whoever decided to come along. When I saw that in the theater, that pissed me off because I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm looking for traps, boulders, flying arrows, fucking darts, not some fucking dude dressed up to look like some Aboriginal character leaping out of a wall.
Okay, I would have been okay if it had been the knight from the end.
Exactly. Like some explanation to be like, we're here to protect the temple of the alien gods or something, and they gave us a power to live forever. Well, okay, then great. That would make sense. But no, they just suddenly showed up. It's like you're looking at the script and they're, on set and they're like, not enough bad guys. Hey, could you get some extras over here? We need some more bad guys. Have we got any of those things from the third film? No, the second film. Yeah, where they're running through the tunnel rat kids. Yeah, bring those guys up. Like, what the hell? It was such a weird thing. Yeah. But anyway. I digress.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I can't think of any comparable films to those that have come out in the last 30 years. Is there anything? I mean, I guess The Mummy, but I never actually saw those films.
The original one with Brendan Fraser, that one.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good.
I've never seen it. I've never actually
surprisingly
seen it.
Good.
I remember thinking at the time that if they were going to do something with Indiana Jones like they do with James Bond, where it's like they just bring in a new actor to play the character, for a few films, and then they recast it again. Brendan Fraser at the time would have been a great replacement for Harrison Ford. Now it's too late. You can't do that now.
Yeah, well, no, there was another one that was now Alan Quartermain in The Lost City of Gold.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For video games, I can't remember the video game. There was that video game that was on the PlayStation for a while, and I think they made a movie out of it. Shit.
Tomb Raider?
No.
Not Tomb Raider.
No.
So not Tomb Raider, but another one that's like Indiana Jones, but not like Tomb Raider.
It's like Indiana Jones, yeah. It actually came with my PS3, and I can't remember what it is.
You're talking about Uncharted.
Yes, Uncharted,
which had a terrible film, which I again didn't see, but it came out not too long ago. I think it had Marky Mark playing the old grizzled guy, and Tom Holland was playing the Uncharted, the Drake character, which honestly could have worked because I've played all of those games. I played all of them, including the offshoot, the third or the fifth one or whatever the hell it was, which was the female lead character from a couple of the other games. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is, they were all really good. The stories were great. But there was one, I think it was the third game, where, or maybe, no, it was the fourth game, where they went back in time and like followed the characters when they were kids, kind of thing. Teens sort of stuff. But I hope that film did that, because otherwise it was bad casting all around. But yeah, those actually could be made into films. Which reminds me, Nathan Fillion, the actor, about 10 years ago, 7 years ago, did a YouTube video where he got a production group together and they shot him playing the lead character from those video games, because he really wanted to make a film. And that was, he was trying to encourage them to make the film based on what they created. And it was great, but it was 4 or 5 minutes long or something, but it, then they chose to do what they did, and it flopped. So, I mean, it was obvious. If you knew anything about that particular game, you would know not to do that. Because yeah, it's an Indiana Jones like character.
What game is this?
It's called Uncharted. It's it's a guy who runs around the globe looking for treasure.
Is it like a pirate game?
It's kind of like Assassin's Creed.
When is it set?
It's set in contemporary day.
Okay.
So, well, actually, no, it must be, because in the fourth game, which came out only a few years ago, there's actually a moment in the game where the character is actually playing a PlayStation 4. So, and playing like an old, I think playing Bandicoot or whatever that game was called. But anyway, but the point is that they had these 5 games, or the 4 main games and the one offshoot, and that could easily be 4 movies. If they had just decided, okay, we need to hire a guy that looks like that, we need to hire an old grizzled guy that looks like that. The other characters, doesn't really matter who you hire as long as they're villains and stuff like that. But if they actually just did those fucking stories that are already written, all the scenes are there, they could easily have just replicated that, and they probably would have had success because the audience is big enough. So, it's sad that they wasted an opportunity to actually do something interesting. Because if you wanted to capture that right now, that's the perfect time to do it. Because the set pieces are great. There's like different moments in each of the games where they do something interesting. There's like the half of the Sahara Desert collapses into the ground kind of thing to reveal a large underground city. Great visuals like that. Not half the desert, but they're in the desert and this happens. Anyway, there's all kinds of cool stuff. Like the whole idea is that the lead character is a descendant of Drake, the Voyager, the guy that went around the world and whatnot. And he exactly goes to find his sunken vessel and goes to, there's all these great story elements that could easily be movies. And anyway, blah, blah, blah. Beer.
Well, I have a character I'm developing named Wyoming Anderson. And
that sounds awesome. Wyoming.
That's it. That's all I got.
New Jersey Bob. Oh man. But how long have we been?
And he got his name from a cat.
We named the cat
Wyoming.
Wyoming. Oh man, that's kind of awesome. So any final thoughts before we pack it in for the day?
Golden Well. Really good
Golden
beer
Well,
for
really
3%. So if you want something that's, you don't want to go non-alcoholic, but you don't want to have something that's like regular alcohol, this is kind of like a decent middle of the road that actually tastes pretty good.
Nice.
Nice.
I don't know where my can went. The peanut gallery took it, but the beer that I had is not too bad.
Just to take it.
Exactly. Definitely, yeah. If you want to try the non-alcoholic beers of the world, give it a whirl. I'm going to be having more of them. Next week, I might show you this one, or maybe this one, or maybe the other one in the fridge. But thank you all for watching. Definitely come back next Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard. Western Standard was my first thought. And we'll see you then. And Dave might be here. Dave said he might come. So there we go. Well, wait, we have a thing in the chat. Oh, sorry, man. We're about to leave. But that's okay. We'll see you all guys next week. Thank you so much. And Alan, take us. Oh, wait. Oh, crap. Wrong button. What's going on? Who the hell are we? Oh, my God.